Articles 239 to 244 of the revised Penal Code is your usurpation of powers and unlawful appointments. Let's go to specific provisions. Article 239, that is your usurpation of legislative powers. Article 240, usurpation of executive functions. Article 241, that is your usurpation of judicial functions. Article 242, disobeying request for disqualification. Article 243, orders or requests by executive officers to any judicial authority, and Article 244, unlawful appointments. So let's go now to Articles 239 to 241. Iisang slide na lang para mas madali sa inyong ma-recall. So ano ang napansin nyo from Articles 239 to 241? These are your branches of the government, the three branches of the government: your legislative branch, your executive branch, and your judicial branch. Ito yung Article 6, Article 7, and Article 8 of the Constitution if you are studying political law. And ano ang meron sa legislative branch? What do? They make laws. Ito yung ating mga congressman, ito yung ating mga senators. How about in the executive branch? They implement laws or they execute laws. So this is your president, yung mga heads ng departments like the DSWD, Department of Health, DFA, even yung mayors. And in the judicial branch, these are your judges or justices, and they interpret the law. So, ang importanteng tanong from Articles 239 to 241 is, who is your offender? So, take note of that para mas madaling ma-recall. Who is your offender? In Article 239, your offender is an executive officer or a judicial officer. Take note ha, executive officer or judicial officer. Obvious naman yan kasi ang kanyang violation is usurpation of legislative powers. Therefore, your offender is someone who does not belong to the legislative department or legislative branch of the government. And in usurpation of executive functions, your offender is a particular person, and that particular person is a judge. Your offender is a judge. And in Article 241, your offender is an officer of the executive branch of the government. So take note ha, take note kung sino ang iyong offender. In Article 239, ano ang ginawa ni executive officer or judicial officer? He makes general rules or regulations beyond the scope of his authority, or he attempts to repeal a law, or he suspends the execution thereof. So these are the ginawa ni executive officer or judicial officer. It has something to do with the law because nga ang legislative powers is making law. How about in Article 240? Ano ang ginawa ni judge? Si judge assumes a power. That power pertains to the executive authorities, and or judge obstructs the executive authorities in the lawful exercise of their powers. How about in Article 241? Ano ang ginawa ni offender? Offender here assumes judicial powers, or he obstructs the execution of any order or decision rendered by any judge within his jurisdiction. So this is your Articles 239, 240, and 241. I want you to relate this to Article 177. Bakit na ibalik na naman natin sa Article 177? Because Article 177 talks about usurpation also, but usurpation of authority or official function. So please connect nyo si Articles 177. Let's go now to Article 242, the disobeying request for disqualification. So what are the elements? Number one, offender is a public officer. Lagyan natin ng tao para mas malinaw yung ating Article 242. Like for example, our offender is Mayor Isko, Mayor ng City of Manila. So nagkaroon ng reports na si City Treasurer ay merong mga cases ng corruption. So, nai-report si City Treasurer kay Mayor Isko and what did Mayor Isko do? He suspended the City Treasurer at nagkaroon ng investigation. So, your number 2 element is a proceeding is pending before such public officer. A proceeding is pending before Mayor Isko. But number 3, there is a question now brought before the proper authority regarding his jurisdiction, which is not yet decided. So what did the city treasurer do? He filed a case. He filed a case for prohibition against Mayor Isko. So there is now a question brought before the proper RTC regarding the jurisdiction of Mayor Isko to investigate the city treasurer. Number 4 element, he has been lawfully required to refrain from continuing the proceeding. So, meaning to say, nagkaroon dito ng ruling si RTC, maaring si RTC is nag-issue ng injunction against Mayor Isko na huwag ipagpatuloy ang investigation against the city treasurer. Number 5, he continues the proceeding. Mayor Isko continues the proceeding. So this is your Article 242. In that case, if Mayor Isko will continue the proceeding against the treasurer, then he could be liable of disobeying request for disqualification. Let's go now to Article 243, that is the orders or requests by executive officers to any judicial authority. So what are the elements? Number 1, your offender is an executive officer. Number 2, he addresses any order or suggestion to any judicial authority. So balikan natin yung ating kwento. Our example is Mayor Isko. Mayor Isko is an executive officer. Bakit naging executive officer si Mayor Isko? Because as a mayor, his duty is to implement the laws, to execute the laws. So what did Mayor Isko do nung nakita niya yung decision ni judge dun sa prohibition nung nagkaroon ng writ of injunction? Gumawa si Mayor Isko agad ng letter suggesting to the judge. Sabi niya doon sa letter, Judge, bakit mo naman pinapakialaman ang aking investigation kay City Treasurer? Valid ang aking investigation because I have been receiving reports about his corruption. But the problem is that letter suggestion of Mayor Isko is one that relates to any case or business that is coming within the exclusive jurisdiction of the courts of justice. Hindi pwede yan because the purpose of Article 243 is to maintain the independence of the judiciary. Dapat ikaw, Mayor Isko, you concentrate on your job as a mayor of City of Manila as an executive officer. Hindi mo pwedeng panghimasukan ang trabaho ng mga nasa judicial branch of the government because that will defeat the principle of checks and balances. Article 244, unlawful appointments. So what are the elements? Number 1, again, your offender is a public officer and that public officer nominates or appoints a person to a public office. Take note ha, nominates or appoints. Magkaiba yang nominate or appoint sa recommendation. Hindi kasama ang recommendation. Number 3, such person, the person that he appointed or nominated, lacks the legal qualifications. Number 4, the public officer, our offender, he has knowledge that his nominee or his appointee lacks the qualification at the time he made the nomination or appointment. So para hindi na ninyo makalimutan si Article 244, Unlawful Appointments, let's read this case. This was decided on November 14, 2018. So bago lang. So this is the case of Fidel V. Anacta Jr. versus Sandigan Bayan and People of the Philippines. So what happened here? Si petitioner is a mayor. Our petitioner is a mayor. He is a municipal mayor of Borongan, Eastern Samar. So what did he do? He appointed Attorney Reynaldo Alconaba. Inappoint niya si Attorney Alconaba as a member of the Board of Directors of the Borongan Water District. What is the Borongan Water District? That is a GOCC with an original charter. It is a government-owned or controlled corporation with an original charter. But nung yung appointment ni Attorney Alconaba was referred to the Local Water Utilities Administration for confirmation, Local Water Utilities Administration said that Alconaba's appointment is prohibited by law. Bakit prohibited by law? Because ito pa lang si Alconaba ay tumakbo ng municipal councilor. Tumakbo siya for the position of municipal councilor but natalo. And therefore, si Mr. Anacta was charged with Article 244. Aside from 244, ang naging basis ng case laban sa kanya is your Article 9B, Section 6 of the 1987 Constitution. So what is that? Very clear in Section 6, sinasabi dyan that if you are a candidate who has lost in any election, within 1 year after such election, you cannot be appointed to any office in the government or any GOCC or in any of their subsidiaries. But ano ang sabi ni petitioner or ni Mr. Anacta? Sabi niya, I do not know that he lost in the past election. I have no knowledge. Ang kanyang naging basis is number 4. Hindi siya pwedeng maging liable ng Article 244 because the element in number 4 that the offender knows that his nominee or appointee lacks the qualification at the time he made the nomination or appointment is absent. But what was the ruling of the Supreme Court? He was charged guilty of Article 244. Mr. Anacta was found guilty of unlawful appointments.